But step 9 is what we're supposed to be talking about. It's September, and it's not an easy step. It's not an easy step to talk about. It's not an easy step to do. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. It's a big undertaking. It talks about making amends even to those people that you don't think you should make amends to, or that you don't need to make amends to. We're required to repair the damage we created in our past. Making amends means making a change, not just saying, "I'm sorry." How many times have we said that to our friends and family in the past? "I'm sorry, I'll never do it again," only to repeat the same behaviors over and over and over again. Our family and friends have heard the empty promises forever, and now it's time to take action and do something different. It's clear in the big book how we should do this. On page 76, it lays exactly out what we need to do. Clearly, we know that faith without works is dead. We have to take action. We have to put into action what we know we have to do. We have subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal in steps 4 and listed all of the people that we have harmed and need to make amends to in step 6 and step 7. And this list may include people, businesses, employers, employees, and anyone else that you may have caused harm to over the course of your addiction. In the big book it says now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which is accumulated out of our effort to live in our own self-will, running our own show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, then we ask through prayer and meditation until it comes. As we always say around here, prayer works. We just have to do it. Remember, we agree in the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over drugs and or alcohol. Any lengths. In how it works, it says if you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. And as you know, this is one of those certain steps. Making amends is the essential healing mechanism of the 12 steps that restores relationships and the principles of justice and fairness. Step 9 requires us to be fearless. Taking this step in some cases is more fearful than doing steps 4 and steps 5. It takes courage and determination to follow through. We need good support from our sponsors, from the people in our recovery teams, our mentors, and in some cases, when we can, from our families. In this step, we make amends even if we're embarrassed or afraid. The only exception is if we feel that this amends would harm the person we're going to make the amends to. And in some cases, I suppose that could mean if it's going to harm us in a serious way. And we all know that we have some relations with people that maybe aren't that good, a person or people, and maybe we should avoid making amends to them if it could harm us. When we cannot make amends, either because we could cause more harm, or because the person maybe is deceased, or maybe in some cases we don't even know who they are, what their name is, we just remember a person, we can still keep those people in our prayers. Making amends is cleansing. Once we are cleansed, we do our daily maintenance, we review every day when necessary, and we take steps to keep up with our emotional debt. We clean our side of the street every day. That's getting into step 10. Step 9 completes what was started in step 8. We make amends to those that we have harmed. We pay back debts that we owe. We apologize. We write letters. We find the time to do and say the things that would help heal the damage that we have done. We try to bring goodness where previously we had brought discord and likely a lot of destruction. It takes insight, takes courage, takes dedication to make such amends. But now we have the help of our higher power, the God of our understanding, to know what to do and how to do it. We start to live the kind of life that our higher power has always meant us to live. The two fundamental principles of drug court are honesty and accountability, and these are two basic principles that we should all apply in our daily lives, whether we're in drug court or not. When our men and women in drug court go out looking for work, we require that they tell their employers that they are, in fact, participants in drug court, that they do have a criminal record, that they do have to go to court every week, and that they're accountable to a probation officer, to case managers, and to many other people in their lives. And what we're finding happens with that honesty is that they get employment. A number of years ago, I had a young fellow in my office trying to talk me into allowing him not to be honest and accountable while he was looking for work, because he couldn't see how it could work. While he was sitting there, another participant called stating that his employer was looking for other guys to work and would gladly hire a drug court person. So I mentioned it to the young fellow that was talking to me, and he said, "Oh, I couldn't possibly go to that office or that person because the last time I relapsed, I was working for him and I ran away, never to talk to him again." So I didn't even go back and pick up my final paycheck. So we talked at length, as some of you guys in the back row have had these discussions, and I convinced him that it would be a good idea to go back and do nothing more than make an amends, do a step 9, make an amends to that employer. He mustered up his courage. Well, I pushed him a little bit and made him phone right from there to make the appointment, and he did it. He went, made the amends, and came back 2 hours later with a job. His employer was so impressed with the amends, but he said to him, he said, "I was always impressed with your work before. Because you had one slip up, one little screw up, doesn't mean we wouldn't take you back." But he did. He made the amends and he hired him back. I have another drug court with many guys that are very successful being honest and accountable, but another fellow that has applied those principles in his business. And he has tripled his business by applying the principles, believe it or not, of honesty and accountability. Going back and making amends to customers that he might have offended in the past, and they've hired him back and they've given him more work. It's just amazing what happens when you do that. So making amends can be very positive to your life. I've gone off script here now, and so I'm lost. Okay. Which is good, it's getting me through here. The whole process of making amends are for us to get life straight and get things straight with the universe, to enable us to stop carrying the guilt and the shame associated with our past behaviors, which was the case that this young man had. He was so shameful of his behavior, he didn't want to go back and face him. It's to start the healing process and to bring our family and our friends back into our life. The scripture I chose tonight is one of Luke 19, verses 1 to 10. And I'm not going to get into them all, but in brief, this scripture talks about Zacchaeus. I always get this name screwed up, but Zacchaeus, who was a tax collector. One of my favorite people in the world are people that are tax collectors, and Zacchaeus would be one of them, and he was making everybody upset and mad in his world. They saw him as a thief and a traitor to his people. Jesus came into his life and interacted with him, and Zacchaeus saw the error in his ways, and he said to Jesus, he said, "I will, if I have taken from people that I shouldn't have, I will take half of my worldly possessions and give them back, and anybody that I have wronged, I will give back 4 times, I think it's what it is, 4 times what I've taken from them." So he made amends by repaying the debt, by making things right and moving forward. It's amazing what happens when we put others first, when we take a sincere interest in what others are doing and what is going on in their lives. We suddenly lose selfish interest, self-centeredness, and we become humble. Showing love to our friends and enemies brings love to you. I've always believed that we get what we give. We should be a giver and not a taker. We are never an island unto ourselves. We are part of the whole, a part of the universe, and we need to be in harmony with others in a loving, caring community. When others hurt, we hurt. Likewise, when we hurt, others hurt. Early in recovery, we have to be somewhat selfish and self-centered just to get the program and understand how it works and whatnot. But after a while, after we grow in our recovery, it's time to move out of our self-centeredness and become interested in others. Part of making amends to others is showing them that you've actually changed. It's called a living amends. As we love others, we will find that others love us. Strange concept, but it's true. When that starts to happen, our relationships grow stronger and our addictions lose their grip on us. So stronger relationships, less addiction. That's a nice combination. Making amends is a very fearful activity. I don't know about you, but being humble enough to make an amends takes courage and determination. We need support from our sponsor, but most importantly, we need to go back and visit our third step and turn our will and our lives over to our higher power. We need to ask our higher power for the help in doing these amends, and we need to do that on each and every amend that we decide to do. We need to ask his help in setting the priorities. Which ones are we going to do first? Which ones do I need to do now? Which ones can I leave for a while? And which ones should I not do for maybe quite a while, depending on what the circumstances were around them? I suppose we need to look at the reasons why we should make amends and why we should rid ourselves of resentments. As we know, holding resentments is the largest reason that alcoholics and addicts go back out. It's the biggest single reason for relapse. It says in the big book that our resentments keep us separated from the power greater than ourselves. So it keeps us separated from our spirituality. We must eliminate them if we are to have a spiritual awakening. When we do not get rid of the resentments, it's like we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol and drugs returns, and we drink or drug again. To drink again, in most cases, means death. With most of us, to drink is to die. The big book instructs us to look at what our part was in each of our resentments. We must put out of our mind what others have done to us and look at what our part was in the incident and what we did to other people. We must look where we have been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, or frightened. This is called cleaning our side of the street. We had to look where we were to blame and what our part in all of the events was. Take accountability for it, admit our wrongs honestly, and be willing to set matters straight. The shortcomings of selfishness, dishonesty, self-seeking, and fear are based on our self-will, not God's will. God's will is unselfishness, honesty, purity, and love. Concerning our resentments, the big book authors provide us with specific instructions on what to do, and we must get beyond resentments if we expect to live long or happily in this world. If we have the faith that God will keep us safe and protected, we will receive the strength and the direction to overcome all of our fears, including the fear of making amends. We overcome fear with faith. I think we've talked about that lots around here, that faith does get us through fear. Therefore, according to the authors of the big book, faith is the asset that corresponds to the liability of fear. Just in closing, I want to encourage everyone to do their amends. Pick the easy ones first and practice on them if you want. Talk to your sponsor, talk to your mentors, figure out which ones you should do first, but don't go forward until everyone thinks that you should. That doesn't end the process. We need to check our behaviors every day, and when required, promptly make amends to keep your side or our side of the street clean at all times, always keeping in mind that we don't want to cause more harm to other people than what's already been done. If we're diligent with this part of our program, the promises will start to come true. I know many of you have experienced that. The promises do come true if you work for them, but you have to do the work. This is one area where work is required. You have to work the steps to get the promises. And I think somewhere in there it says, half measures availed us nothing. So we need to get at it and work at it very diligently. They will always materialize. We talk about it, we see them, and we're going to share them in October with nothing short of a miracle that evening. So I just want to close with a little prayer about 9-step, and then we'll go into the 7-step prayer. So join me in prayer. Higher power, I pray for the right attitude to make my amends, being ever mindful not to harm others in the process. I ask for your guidance in making indirect amends. Most important, I will continue to make amends by staying abstinent, helping others, and growing in the spiritual progress. Amen.